Hello everyone. Today we are going to paint a very easy loose floral composition using the peach color that you've probably seen me use a number of times here on the channel already. But I will show you how to remix that color since it is the Pantone color of the year. If you're new here, my name is Teresa. I'm a surface pattern designer and watercolor artist. So as you can see, I'm not in my studio today, so there may be some lighting issues or some background noise, so please forgive me for that. To get peach, all you need to do is mix orange and pink. So just pick your favorite orange and your favorite pink, and then depending on how much water you add to that, that can make it lighter or darker. Now today I'm going to use cadmium-free orange and quinacridone red. Quinacridone red has a lot of pink in it, and that's why it works for peach. Those are just two of my favorites, and I think it's a really lovely peach color. But experiment with whatever oranges and pinks you have. Okay, so I'm going to start with my main flower right here, and I'm using my black velvet silver brushes for most of this composition. That's just the brush I really like to do these types of flowers, and you can do any flower that you like, of course. Just if you're going to do this flower, you know, the thing to think about is just don't overthink it. You just want 5 or 6 petals. It doesn't even have to be the same from flower to flower. You can have 5 petals on one flower, 6 petals on the other flower. It doesn't matter. I like to do a lot of these little wispy petals just to give it some texture. And this one, I'll have one petal that's kind of turning up, so we only see the end of it. So you only need a little oval for that. And like I've done there, you don't even need the whole oval. You can make it pretty sketchy. And then I'll place one more back behind it, just a little bit, a smaller one, so that we have different sizes. And you can go back over things. If you want them to be a little darker in spots, go back over them. As long as they're still wet, you can do that. And I'm even going to grab some Scarlet Lake here and put toward the center while it's still wet so that it can bleed out into those petals to give us some variation of color. And I may even add a little bit right here. And I'm not going to overthink it too much. I'll just add a few little swatches with my brush, and we can come back and smooth that out if we want to later. We'll just see how it dries. And let's just drop in some little leaves here. We're going to do these leaves I love to do using this brush. Just, they can all be different. I'm really not going to be too precise with any of this. I'm just going to let it happen however it happens. And now I'm going to drop in undersea green to give it a little depth. And we'll add some up here for this smaller one. And your leaves don't have to be perfect. It's okay. And now this is lemon yellow that I'm adding to the center here. Again, while it's still wet, so it can bleed into the areas that are wet. I don't want a lot of leaves on this one, so just start filling in this white space. We have a whole lot of white space. So just put your leaves anywhere you want. It does not matter. You know, a lot of people ask me a lot about composition. How do you know where to put all your elements? And, you know, there's no set way to do it. You just look at what you're working with right now and think, okay, where do I need to fill space? And that was a lot of space I wanted to fill, so I made a large leaf. But now there's an even larger corner right here, so I am going to do a different type of leaf and add lots of color here. So I'm using undersea green right now, and I will also grab a little olive. Yeah, let's put a little olive right in here, a little bit lighter color. That really helps when you use lights, darks, and mediums, like you've probably heard me talk about over and over. It really is the key to having a nice composition, using a lot of different hues. And now for this particular type of leaf, it's got a lot of small leaves coming off it. Don't have them all going out just straight out. You know, you can add a lot of interest to your composition by crossing over some of them, having some of them smaller, some of them larger. Try to mix it up a little bit. And like that first olive green one that I did that's going right up the center, we'll put kind of a stray leaf coming off to the side there, just to help fill up some space. And I think I'll add some right here too. I'm just trying to fill up space with different textures. And we have this huge white space up here. I think I'm going to put some yellow, little fuzzy type blooms, kind of non-specific type flower right up here. This will give us another area to introduce a little bit of that yellow, and it will take up a lot of space. And see, this is not a very detailed bloom. I'm just using that brush head to just do these little, just those little spots. I'm not even trying to get them all perfect. It doesn't matter. Trying to vary the size just a little bit. And some down here too. We'll put these in threes because they kind of catch your attention. So we'll balance it out with threes. And now I'm going to use this little Sjotta brush. I love Sjotta brushes. They're very reasonably priced, and this is just a great round size. You can do some details where you don't want super fine details, but you don't want it very thick either. And I'm using Van Dyke Brown just to put those little limbs. I think I'll go back to my silver brush. I've gone down a size now. I think this is the 8. And that hard line right there was kind of bothering me, so I dipped my brush in water and then dried it off. And now I'm just going to smooth that color out again. And because it was completely dry, I can get away with doing that. If I had gone back in when part of it was wet and part of it was dry, it would have just created a mess. And now I'm just adding some little wispies. Oops, sorry about that. Little wispies are good for taking up space. Non-specific. It doesn't even matter what it is. And now I'm just kind of looking around, seeing where do I need to fill space. I still see a lot of white. Let's go to a little bit smaller brush. I'm going to grab some of that Van Dyke Brown and put it to the center of my blooms, because that yellow is mostly dry now. And if you do this too soon, it will bleed into that yellow. A little bit of bleeding is fine, but if you do it too early, then your whole center will become brown. And maybe some little lines on our leaves. And I'm using the undersea green here to do those little lines. Maybe add a little shadow. Those two are kind of looking like one big leaf, so I've made that one darker, just so it's a little more obvious that it's really two leaves. I think we'll do a little, maybe some blooms, some little smaller blooms down here. Put a little more of that peach color on our canvas and a little more texture. The key is just to relax and take your time and just assess it as you go and decide where you want to fill in more elements. I think maybe a little more up here, and we have a lot of medium tones. I think I want to add a little more of the darker tones. And because that is dry, I can add the darker on top and it will stand out and look nice and layered. I'm liking this darker color, so I want to add more of the darker color. I think that it really needs that for more of a richer look. Well, that's really all there is to this one. Very easy, it goes by fast. If you enjoyed this one, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing for a lot more watercolor videos coming up soon. Thanks so much and hope to see you next week.